Welcome everyone to episode 2 of Blue versus Blue, but this time it's Blue versus Blue versus Blue. With us, we got a special guest, MJ, who is one of our newly initiated, and always myself and Mr. Joe Mavor. So, folks, say hi to everybody.
What's going on? As you can see, I'm ready to deflect all bullshit coming my way. I have been inspired by watching some of the best documentaries and some of the best goalies do what they do best. You see the long sleeve here. I'm ready for the snow to come down. I'm ready to block and deflect all bullshit. So we ready.
This man brought keeper gloves
Yes.
to,
Yeah.
to Blue
Props
versus
now.
Blue.
We are
Oh
out here.
shit!
We're out here tonight.
All right. Well, Joe, you got to follow that, man.
Hey man, I don't know if I can follow that one off the rip like that. My goodness. My
Jeez.
man MJ.
Let me just lead it. I'm ready.
I'm saying ready to go, boy.
Ready.
Well, anyway, we are here to talk about documentaries, movies, any type of show that you've seen or you would recommend to others that you love about the beautiful game. So, we're going to talk about some familiar ones that I'm sure you've heard us talk about on the shows before. And I'm hoping to hit you with a couple that you haven't heard of or I think you should watch. So, without further ado, I think we should kick it over to the number one, the keeper, the one with the gloves. Let me hear you, MJ. What you got?
Hey, well, let me kick it off then. So, um, got to start off with Sunderland. I remember when you guys introduced me to this beautiful game. Shout out to Big Shot Ron for telling me about Sunderland. The first 90 seconds I cut it on, I was hooked. And what hooked me on it was just the intrigue. As you know, I can't speak on all of us, but, I'm from America, from the hood. It's not a lot of land to be able to play soccer at. Plus, just as far as how we're able to get resources, we usually get it out the mud. And to see another country pretty much going through the same financial hardships we're going through was already interesting. But what really grabbed me was the football team is their primary source of income. That's their resource. So the first 90 seconds, I'm not going to spoil too much for you, but the first 90 seconds is in a church with a preacher, a pope, or I don't know who, a Catholic, praying, like really preaching, like really blessing everybody. And half of the prayer was about the football team.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, whoa.
And it wasn't even so much they weren't praying for victory. They were praying for success. They were praying for prosperity within the club. They were praying for, their culture and their livelihood to grow again because, and I don't want to, like MJ said, I don't want to spoil too much, but Sunderland's come across some hard times recently. They were
Yeah.
they were in the top flight of football, and they're not there anymore. So Sunderland Till I Die is on Netflix. There's 2 seasons to it right now, um, and it's a good one. It's a must watch. If you're gonna watch any off of this list, that should probably be your first one because I can
Yes.
guarantee it's gonna hook you. Joe, what do you got, man?
I started watching that one too, and it was the same thing as MJ, where it was like as soon as I clicked it on, I was already into soccer as it was, and then watching that one really got me hooked even more into watching documentaries. At around the same time, the first documentary that I'm going to talk about is the All or Nothing that's on Prime Video. You can catch it there. There's an All or Nothing on Manchester City. Obviously, that's my club. You all know that by now. And they did a a full season where they were just followed them around, got all behind the scenes. They did 8 episodes following the 17-18 season for City. I found it so interesting because you got to see everywhere all the behind the scenes workings behind the club. You got to see in the dressing room. You got to see how they wash the kits after big matches. You got to see how the match day pitch got ready. You got to see inside the stadium, how transfers work,
Yeah.
the meetings that they have behind closed doors with the club president and the sporting director. And it followed the team. And that particular season was their Centurion season, where they won the Premier League title and finished with 100 points, which was the first time that had happened in English football in the Premier League era. So first and foremost, it was my team. So obviously I was going to be into it. But the cinematography, the way that they did the documentary, the narrator is Ben Kingsley, who's a pretty famous, well-known actor. He's got a really good voice, which lends itself perfectly, I think, to the voiceovers. And the team itself just got a lot of really cool dudes on it. And getting to see how Pep works. Pep Guardiola is one of the, if not the top coach in world football right now, and to see how he
Allegedly.
prepares for allegedly. Seeing how he prepares his players, and all the finer details that goes into what makes a team successful. One of the coolest stories for me was this won't give away too much if you're going to watch it, but one of the boot guys, he was in charge of making sure all the guys cleats were prepared and ready to go. His relationship with the players was something that I thought was really dope, because he would go into the cryogenic chambers with Vincent Company to help recovery. He would be the first guy jumping around celebrating wins in the locker room with the guys, and his like personality as just a guy who was in charge of the boots, like, was making friends and building real relationships with the coaching staff and all these famous world-class players. I think that it was just really cool to watch, and I loved watching every minute of it. It was so much fun to watch, and that was my first one that I had, obviously. So
I think, like, and this is something that you'll see transcend over every single documentary that we talk about, is relationships. And
Yeah.
just like you talk about with the boot manager, cleats for you North American folks, they have such a close, tight knit relationship with the individual players, and that was the same case at Sunderland. All of these low
Yeah.
level, like they really highlight the chef in Sunderland Till I Die, and she had been there for eons, and she was worried about getting fired, and just the relationships that they had with her. It's really, like, it's really heartwarming, and just really nice to see. I think the easiest way to describe All or Nothing for me is, for any of you football fans, it is Hard Knocks. It's Hard Knocks for
yep,
soccer.
exactly,
Um,
that's exactly what I was
so
going to say.
that's a perfect way to describe it. There's one on City, and I think there's one on Tottenham.
Yep.
I think they're gonna do another one, but I don't know who it's on. But yeah, it's really, really good. MJ, you got anything?
I'm right down the ones that I haven't watched yet. Like I said, I just started about 3 weeks ago. All or Nothing is definitely going to be in the rotation, but I will go ahead and perfectly transition on to my second and last one, because again, I'm a little early, and that is Juventus first team. Listen to me very carefully. Like, y'all know I'm a hard hat lunch pail type of guy. I love being comfortable. I love wearing my regular. When them motherfuckers came out in them suits with the J
Oof.
on it,
Yep.
Mhm.
look, that was so badass. I think I bought a tux 2 days ago because of them. For real, I purchased the tux. I'm like, look, to be whooping people ass in a suit is so hitman like,
Hmm.
and it's
And
so
looking that
professional
fly with
looking,
it, dude, like
Yep.
it's so when the whole team, all the players, the
clean.
coaching staff, just everybody just looks that good. Like, what are you gonna do with that when you see that walking off the bus off the plane?
Yeah,
And,
That's
I
oh,
just
go ahead, Zach. Go ahead.
I was I didn't know that. I didn't know that Juve wore blazers with, a very specific outfit before
mhm.
pre-match. I'm so used to seeing Chelsea and City and those type of teams. They show up in training tops. They
Yeah,
fly in training tops. That's what they do. They're comfortable. Not Juve, man. They're there. They mean fucking business, and they're gonna put it in your ass with a blazer, a nice button-down white shirt, and they're gonna make you look stupid doing it.
clean. And then, just looking at it, it was just like how they just really like dived into, just winning is life or death for them. It's like they're not even satisfied when they're winning games where they supposed to. Like the coach be going, the coach was in a shit the whole series.
Yep.
I'm cracking up because it reminded me of Germ with us.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. I the
The
one thing I like.
details, the specifics, he just was on it. And then just to also see their lifestyle and how, it ain't just, I mean, yes, it's soccer, but what you got to understand and what gave me a new respect for soccer is not only are they playing in their primary league, but they're also more than likely playing in the Champions League. In addition to that, because they have sponsors, they got to just randomly fly to places to be at that sponsorship.
Mhm.
So they show UV just out of nowhere, just fly straight to an Adidas mall so that they could open up an Adidas store. Just like, like
And most of
the
them
time
players
management is
got
crazy.
international duty too. Like they're
Yeah.
doing stuff for their club, their country that they're in too. So they got their club responsibilities, and then they got international responsibilities too on top of their sponsorship deals, like you just said. So it's a grind for sure.
I really liked watching, seeing that side of Ronaldo. But my favorite part of Juve first team was actually watching Miralem Pjanic and seeing his family and how he adapted because he had just transferred to Juve. He was new there, and seeing how he adapted with his family and his young kid. That was something that I really enjoyed, and it kind of it struck me close to home. So that's definitely one that I would say needs to be watched as well.
And Jerem needs to get on that one, and he needs to get on All or Nothing because those are his two clubs now. He
Yeah.
said he's a
Yeah,
City guy and he's a Juve fan, so he's got two
he got no damn
link.
excuses.
He's got to get on that.
Nah, nah. I need
So,
for him to take this weekend, buy a nice beverage of his choice. Hopefully, it's a libation, and I need for him to just chill the fuck out and
yep,
watch it. We
yep.
will market the shows. We ain't got
Binge
to worry
watch,
about it. We
baby.
got enough
He
shows to last us a weekend. Just binge on it and let us know what he thinks, and come on to the blue versus blue and versus blue
he,
and rock out.
yep, he needs to forget about American football for a weekend and focus on the real football.
Mm.
Yes, I said real.
It's real. That's where it
So,
came from.
It's
Here's
like what
another thing that a lot of people may not know too. Like basketball derived from football.
mhm,
They couldn't play football because it was too cold outside in Massachusetts. So they took the football principles and brought it inside. The first 13 original rules of the game of basketball derived from football. So a lot of people don't know that.
yeah,
Shouts out to
knowledge
James Naismith.
knowledge being dropped.
yep,
Hey,
bombs,
I do what I can.
mic drop.
Zach, what you got, man? MJ's gave us two. I gave him one. What you got, man?
So for me, I'm gonna lead it off with two rather shorter episodes. The first one was, I think, a 30 for 30 called The Two Escobars. And it highlights um, Pablo Escobar and also a Colombian goalie whose last name was Escobar. And they, they have similar fates to a degree.
Yeah.
Um, Without giving anything away, it's just Escobar made a really bad move in a game against the United States, shockingly enough, and it cost him dearly. So that's something that you really need to watch. It's a great 30 for 30. And then the other one is actually an E60 that
Hmm.
ESPN did on Chapecoense. So I don't know if anybody is familiar with that. I know Joe is. But in 2016, the Brazilian team Chapecoense, who was a second or third tier team, was flying to what is the equivalent of the FA Cup final against Medellin, uh, and their plane crashed into the side of a mountain, and
Oh yeah.
all but four um, died.
Hmm.
And it highlights the much like Sunderland, Chapecoense, the entire city is built around that football team. And so the E60 highlights, the tragedy and also the recovery, and it really it highlights on the four players. Um, One which was able to fully return to playing. It took him over a year to get back, but he was able to come back and play for Shepco once again. Um, and then another one also made kind of like spot duty, but it was really, really, really heartwarming because Shepard was kind of like that Cinderella story, that makes that final four when they're mid major,
Yeah.
and them making the final against Medellin was a big deal. And uh, in light, Medellin ended up forfeiting the final, and the Brazilian Federation neglected to the, uh, relegate Chapecoense for I think like 2 or 3 seasons. They were exempt from relegation because they had to basically they just called all clubs around the world and said, we will take anybody you will give us. We can't afford to pay any players because all of
Mm,
our money is being, given to the widows and trying to pay for funerals and rebound. So like clubs like Arsenal and all these there's a bunch of Portuguese teams that sent their academy, highly touted players and sent them down there pretty much free of charge.
mm.
And it was a really good series or E60. So
Yeah,
that's
that's powerful.
that's for me.
And I actually saw that 30 for 30 with the two Escobars too. That one completely slipped my mind. That one was very compelling.
Yeah,
Just how like when they were really up and they had to go, they Pablo actually invited them over to play a soccer game, and how they couldn't dog it too much because he would know and kill him, but they couldn't whoop his ass in the soccer field because he'd know and kill him. So they had to like just play just good enough, but
yeah,
not too good.
Walk that fine line right there.
yep,
That's tough. Imagine that you have to, if you don't bring your C game, you die.
yeah,
Yeah, specifically that
and
too.
How do
that's
you bring your C game on like command?
yeah, and that actually makes me realize I know Joe's other one that he's going to mention here actually kind of hints at tragedy with football as well. Joe, you want to tell them about your other choice?
The next one that I have also is on Amazon Prime. It's a 6-part documentary. It's called "This Is Football." Um, it delves into a bunch of different topics. Each episode has its own topic. The first one is what I think was probably my favorite one to watch. The first episode. It's called Redemption. This was filmed, or it was released in 2019. And the first one pretty much covers the life of a foot as a Liverpool fan, but it really highlights three guys in from over in Africa and the football club supporters club that they have down there, and how watching Liverpool matches as a group impacts their day to day life, and how important that time is watching the club for them. And by the end of it, like you're so wrapped up in these guys' stories because it gives you their life story too, about how one of the guys his bond with his son, and like it's stuff that you could just relate to from someone who's on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And they are just like us when it comes to how much we're passionate about our football team. And at the end, they brought the three kind of stars of that episode to England, to Anfield, to watch a game there, and you could just see it was so powerful seeing
Hmm.
their face when they walked up to the stadium, because I know whenever I'm able to get to Manchester and get to the Etihad Stadium, I'm going to be the same way. But
Hmm.
seeing their journey from a small, tiny town in Africa all the way to Anfield to watch the team that they love and support so much, and
Mm.
seeing them singing the "You'll Never Walk Alone" chant with the rest of the supporters, like it was so emotional to see that. So a fantastic. It was each episode is about an hour long.
I,
Um, Go ahead, Zach.
I think they really screwed up putting that episode first. They should have put it last because it was by far. I've only seen 3 episodes now, but I can tell you that it's not. None of them are going to compare to that first episode.
Mm.
And what I want to caveat on what Joe said is it's not just any city in Africa. It's centered in Rwanda, and all three of these men had either family, loved ones, all murdered in the Rwandan genocide with
Mm,
the Hutu and the Tutsi tribes. Um, and the one guy lost his father, and another one was actually playing for the Rwandan professional team, and he was literally running for his life. He was safe. He was part of the good, the good guys, according to it- it's like being a Nazi and hiding a Jewish man or a Jewish woman. That's what he was doing because his teammate was part of the opposing tribe, but they were trying to escape, and he was trying to you know save that man's life, and that's tying in the fact that what Liverpool meant to them, and what the "You Never Walk Alone" song meant
yeah,
to them was it's hard. It's almost hard to watch because I think back to watching the movie Hotel Rwanda, and you know I know uh, I know that that movie just tore me up inside, just seeing how that could happen to your own people, and it's it was really really moving. So I think all the ones that we've mentioned are all something that is somewhat serious, but also really really noteworthy.
And
yeah.
they all pull on your emotions. Like if
And,
you're into watching something that's going to really like stir yourself, like something deep down in you, like all of these are going to do that for you.
and you can find some humorous and relatable moments as well. Now that we mentioned enough shows, I can talk about one show without actually saying what the show is or what the team was. But long story short, in this show, one of the shows that we talked about, um, football player pretty much messed up, ended up not tricking off the game, and he was just walking down the street minding his business, and a random fan was like, "Yeah, congratulations, you pissed the game away." And dude was like, I'm just doing the best that I can. He's like, well, it's not fucking good enough now, is
Mhm.
it? Like,
Yep.
it's so cold. Like, they
Yep.
are not playing. But I get it because it's like when I learned about relegation, I was like, damn, the NBA needs that. Imagine.
Hell yeah, dude. Absolutely.
And it's almost like a life sentence because once you get relegated,
It's hard to get
it's
back.
like you lose your resources to pay the players you need to
Mhm.
go up. So you
Mhm.
almost have to have enough luck to where you build somebody up in your academy who is loyal enough to the city to stay for peanuts until you get
Get back.
uh, moved
Mhm.
up. And you may never get moved up, no matter
and
how good you are, because it's a have not game.
and the
Mhm.
problem with that club in particular is that their academy was not great. And so, when you couple the fact that the academy isn't great, and they don't have the money to bring in, big time players to help them, it's not a good recipe.
And they
Um,
got big time players that's not playing. It's like I'm keeping all my coins.
Mhm. Yeah,
Need
I
all of
referenced
my
that on one of our
bread.
shows, man. I said one dude,
mhm.
one guy can completely like take that club
Ruin
down.
everything.
That's exactly what happened, man. It's
Yep.
crazy.
So I
And
I
it made
think
it worse because he was saying the right things. He was like, I'm
yeah,
ready to play for this club. If they
yep.
put me in, I want a chance. You don't want a damn
Oh,
chance.
yeah, you like we
I
come
don't
on, man.
care.
Really?
Yeah.
Really,
It's
Jack?
I think I picture Thor. Is it though?
Is it?
Eh,
Thanks,
But
Jack.
if eh, let's segue away from something a little bit, all the serious stuff. I did actually write down a couple things that I thought would be funny, or something you might enjoy if you want something a little bit lighthearted. The first one is a movie. It's probably in the early 2000s. It's called Green Street Hooligans. It's got Elijah Wood and Charlie Hunnam in it, and it basically follows West Ham United and their rivalry with Millwall Football Club, who at one point was a pretty prominent English club in the top flight of football. They haven't been there in a long time, but it talks about it's kind of a coming of age tale, if you will,
Mhm.
for Elijah Wood. but it basically talks about hooliganism, fighting, and soccer. It's more about fighting than it is about soccer. But the one liners, the quips, uh, the jokes
Nonstop.
are hilarious,
They're so
and
good.
it's definitely a little bit more lighthearted. And then another one that I didn't think anybody would mention because it's on Apple TV, and not a lot of people have Apple TV. But you got to watch Ted Lasso. Uh,
Hmm.
it is so funny. So it's for the life of me, I'm drawing a blank on his name. He was
Sudeikis.
yeah, Jason Sudeikis plays this coach who becomes
Oh,
Oh
the,
yeah,
the
I
head
seen the
coach.
yeah.
previews
Where
of
they
that.
used
Yeah.
to do the promos where he was when
Yep,
Tottenham and everything was going to
yep,
be the host of all the NFL games over there, and they had
yep,
him out all the time.
yep. So he has his own show, and it's everything you want it to be. It is absolutely hilarious, and if you love soccer, then you definitely got to watch that as well.
No,
The
it's
premise
it's
behind that one is isn't he a college football coach,
Yeah,
and he's
yep.
recruited to coach a fictional Premier
Top,
League club.
yeah, basically a fictional Premier League soccer team. He goes
well,
from
he had
coaching.
him running 40 times or something.
Yeah, it's worth it. And Jason
Definitely
Sudeikis
has.
is absolutely hilarious, so it's good. Just a couple that I'll throw out there that you should put on your watch list, but not quite as moving as these. The English Game is actually a fictional series on Netflix.
Hmm.
Um,
I seen.
roughly,
No, I did see that. I didn't click on it yet, but because I'm sure I
it's
was trying to finish first team. But yeah.
it's roughly based around the start of English football and the FA, and how players were transferred back then and paid to play for, because it was kind of like you could only play for the city where you live in. That was how
Hmm.
you played for a certain team. While teams wanted to be better than what their actual representation were, so they would offer them jobs in the city to where they were, you know, residing in, and then they would in turn pay them to play football for them.
Hmm.
Um, and it's all about that and the point of contention there. So that's a really good one. Um, I also wrote down um, Maradona. Maradona's HBO special is absolutely phenomenal.
Excellent.
And the last one that I have, it's called Kicking It. This one will probably be a little bit harder for you guys to find. I watched it when it was on Netflix a while ago, but it's
I
it's
think I seen that on there.
so it's about homeless people playing soccer um, back in, I think it's 2008, in the attempt to make it to South Africa, where the World Cup was, for the homeless World Cup. So they essentially played street soccer, like sand, beach volleyball, like beach soccer, but they played it with you had to be homeless, and it's all
Hmm.
about them competing to go to South Africa for the homeless World Cup. It's really really good.
Hmm.
So I definitely recommend that as well.
Shouts out for knowing that I got a Netflix account and appealing to all of
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
Definitely needed. So gloves off. I got to put Zach on the spot here because I know Zach used to play this game, this
Yep.
beautiful game.
Yep.
Okay. Give us a couple. Give the people a couple of fond memories, funny, whatever, about you playing your position or something your coach did to cuss you out. Anything.
Oh shit,
Yes.
man.
Yes. We're
That's
putting you
so.
on blast.
I was
Gloves off.
I
You
was
ready?
lucky enough to have two Argentinian coaches.
Nice.
So many of you are familiar with Diego in the stoppage time group. His dad was actually our varsity coach, um, and then you got Ozzy, who was the junior varsity coach, and Ozzy had a much thicker accent than what Carlos did, but we would always joke with him um, when I was like a freshman and sophomore and playing JV. Uh, we would vote for captains. That's how we voted for a captain, and he didn't ask for pieces of paper. like a regular pieces of paper. He wanted sheets of paper. But if you can imagine someone with a South American accent, we'd always be like, Ozzy, we need pieces of sheet, and he's like, yes, yes, bring pieces of sheet, and we and then he'd catch on to what we were doing, and then he was notorious for always holding up his hand. He'd say five. He goes, this is how many, and this is what you do. So that means you got laps.
You got 5 laps to go.
Yep. Get going.
And that soccer pitch is not small, Zachary.
No, man, 120 yards is a long way, and
Not no 94 feet of life here.
no,
Nah.
nah, man. So that was a really good one. I vividly remember a kid shattering another kid's femur on a slide tackle. That was pretty
That
graphic.
hurts my leg just thinking about that.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And then I don't know. I'll always remember it. It wasn't the most significant goal, but being a defensive midfielder, I was not a goal scorer. That's not
Yeah.
that's not my role. And in the playoffs against one of our not really a rival, they were technically a division lower than us, but the way soccer works in high school is kind of weird. Um, I had a goal that was a header in. I put it perfect upper left 90, went straight into the side netting, and it was just really, I don't know, it was just really pure for me, and it was just one of those moments when you're in the moment, you're caught up in the moment, you just excited, and
Right.
you look around, and it didn't matter if there was 5 fans or 500,000. Like
Right.
that's what you love about the game. That's why you play the game. And for me, that's probably one of my favorites, man. That's a good question. I like that.
Now, because
Off
a
the
lot of
cuff.
people need to know you don't just talk this, you live this.
Yeah, it's I've played it ever since I was little. I won't lie, it definitely wasn't my first love. Baseball was my first love. But the older I got, the more I loved soccer more, and learned about the game, and fell in love with the game. Um, and there is no sport that compares to it. It's not even close for me.
And that's what makes this show so special. You can hear the passion in you guys talk, which I'm going to go ahead and now swing this over to Joe. When did you fall in love with the game? What happened? Give me some stories. Did you play? I need to hear all of this because
I
I'm
see.
learning too. I'm learning just like the people listening.
I'm the opposite of Zach. I played basketball year round from the time I was 8 years old through high school, through all the way through senior year in high school. So I played basketball on travel teams, AAU teams. Anytime I could get a group of 8 to 10 guys together and hop on a team and play in a league, that's what I was doing. So I couldn't care less about soccer when I was growing up. I didn't watch it. I didn't care for it. It was not my thing. Um, and then
We
me
can't
and
all
my
be
buddy,
perfect.
what do you say?
We can't all be perfect.
Pretty close. You like to remind me otherwise from time to time, but that's okay.
Always.
That's why you're my boy.
Always.
But
You're my boy, Blue.
You're my boy. See, Blue. See, look at that. So right around 2010, when that World Cup was coming around, me and one of my really good friends would just be playing FIFA in his basement all the time, leading up to the World Cup. Just because I was like, let me try something different. So I got into it because I like the game, and we were just playing FIFA, and I was like, let me find a team that I like that's got some good players. So I was like, I'm scrolling through. Man City had that light blue that I like because I'm a big Tar Heels fan too. And then I found Aguero on there, and I was like, that's my guy. He scores lots of goals. He looks dope on the game. I'm going to give him a try. So let me investigate more about this club. So once I started playing FIFA on a regular basis and watching and learning more about Manchester City's history, it really resonated with me because their history is very similar to a lot of the sports teams that I already watch, where there's a lot of difficulties, a lot of hardship, struggles. So it kind of just
You're a
fit.
Tar Heels fan.
That we're talking about like professional sports teams now, because
Oh, okay.
that don't count.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about formerly the Wizards, because we're not on that bandwagon no more. We are John Wall,
You're
Bradley Beal
done?
fans. We are
You're
we are
done?
we are John Wall, Bradley Beal fans at this
Oh
point in time.
shit!
So we're breaking some more news here.
I don't think
Yeah.
y'all understand how big this exclusive news is, man. This
That
Hey,
dude used to. Hey, you said
that
it on
shit
the
just
Shaka
rocked the
show.
boat.
hey, we said we talked about at the beginning of the show we might be going down some rabbit holes, and here we are now.
Wow.
Wow.
So
Oh,
I'm
cue Owen Wilson gif. Wow.
so John Wall, Bradley Beal. That's what I'm following in pro basketball now. But so I just got into them, and then watching more and more of their games and seeing the way that they played the game. It was really attractive. They were going for very offensive tactics, and then they had some really good players. And then seeing that Aguero goal that we've talked about on the show a couple of times in 2012 was just so special. And then seeing how much that meant to the people who live in Manchester and follow that club for 44 years since the last time that they had won a title, you could just see it in their eyes. And then I'm part of a supporters group in DC, the Capital City Blues, and going down to the local bar down there to watch games with the rest of the guys that are all just as diehard as I am. The first time I went down there to go watch a game, I was by myself. I never just, I'm a pretty outgoing person, but I still kind of had like some nerves going to a place I've never been before with a bunch of guys that I haven't met before, except for on like a Facebook group.
Right.
And I get there and I see this lady dressed up in a stewardess's outfit, but clearly from the Middle East. And I was like, that might be somebody from the Etihad Airways, which is a sponsor of Man City. I'm like, what's going on today? Because this was against Chelsea. It was a Community Shield match against Chelsea.
The Iron.
Let's not talk about that.
And come to find out that one of the original founders of the supporters club in DC, him and his wife were just getting married recently, and the other guys had written to Manchester City, the big club, the mothership over in England, and described like how important the club was to him, and that he started this whole like supporters club in DC. They will come to find out they sent representatives from the Etihad because they had paid for a flight and honeymoon to send them like down to somewhere in the Bahamas on a badass resort. And they got a bunch of the current Man City players to record a like minute and a half, 2 minute long congratulations on your wedding thing. It was like Leroy Sané and Bernardo Silva. It was like all the big name dudes.
Damn.
And they did all of this just because the people in the club wrote to the mothership, and they have. And then when they got down there, they did a follow-up documentary where they kind of followed them around when they got there. They had the Premier League trophy that they had won sitting in their hotel room as they walked.
What?
The actual one. It isn't just like a replica. It was a real one.
That is sick.
And I'm like, this is how they treat like their supporters. Like, this is not like an unusual situation where they do this kind of stuff where they go all out for their fans, and they just know how to run a business. Like that right there, I was like, all right, I already was hooked as a fan. This is beyond what I had ever seen an American club do for fans.
And put that into perspective. Like this is a major sports franchise in England that just did this for one guy and his newlywed wife in a city halfway across the world because he created a supporters club. Like the amount of like pure like love and respect that comes from a lot of these organizations is pretty amazing.
That's how you do business right there, and keep people wanting to support your club even after their favorite players leave. Like, I will forever be a Man City fan at this point for that kind of story. Like, it gave me goosebumps. Like, I had never met these people before, and I was like so excited for them, like getting emotional because they were like crying their eyes out, and I was like, oh my god, this is cool. Like, this is so awesome. This is the first time I came down here to watch a game, and this is
that's your first experience.
And this is my first experience. And they do a lot of clubs do, I guess, but they do tours where trophy tours. In the year that we had held all 4 major trophies at once, they brought them over to DC, and did a picture of like a photo shoot where the supporters club got to be there and take pictures with the actual trophies, the Premier League trophies and all that kind of stuff, like right in front of you. And then they didn't have to do this, but they brought all 4 trophies back to the bar where we all watched the games, and had a like supporters club only private photo session where they had them just sitting on like the pool table for us to be like within touching distance of it. You couldn't touch them obviously because you're not allowed to do that,
Yeah.
but like it was just it was that hooked me again, like just reminded me why I picked them as my club and how proud I am to rep this badge right here, Zach. You see that one right there?
Yeah.
I see it.
You know, I'm looking at the NBA with a big side eye right now, because even the teams that I saw on, the documentaries, I'm not gonna say which one, but even they weren't that good, but their owner and everybody, they would talk to the fans. The fans will display their frustration, and the owner will be right there listening.
Yep.
The players will be right there, like, yeah, you're
Yep.
right, we need to do this, this, and this. And it's like it's such a hands-on experience. Like, they really value the relationship of their community. I mean, it's not just like an NBA cares in which you serve food for 2 hours and leave. They are in the trenches.
Yep.
And that's funny you should mention that, because I was just thinking about what owners do for everything, and I know that Man City's owners, the Sheikh, he has poured countless amounts of money into the city of Manchester, and the
The
country as a
infrastructure.
whole. And just very, very recently, during this whole pandemic, Roman Abramovich, the owner of Chelsea, rented out. He owns a bunch of hotels in London. He blocked those off and gave them all to the healthcare workers. So because they were working such grueling shifts, they didn't have to go home. They could go back to a nice hotel. They had food ready for them every single night. They
Mm.
didn't pay for any of it. And that's the kind of stuff that you love to see. And I'm not going to say that American owners don't do that, because I've seen what
Yeah, they
guys like what Mark Cuban does.
I was gonna say Mark Cuban is the first name that came to mind
Um,
for a pro sports in America's comparison. Like he does that kind of stuff all the time.
but it
yeah,
it it, it just, I think it, at least for me, it kind of hits differently. It seems like American franchise owners do it for the publicity, and they
yeah,
do it for the face, and like Joe said, and the Sheikh and Roman have done. It's more personal. It's more for the people that he knows, that and especially in London, like we've talked about this countless amounts of times. There are 6 professional sports teams that all play soccer in the top flight in London. That's like having 6 NBA teams in LA.
yeah.
Like, and so he did this, knowing that probably a good majority of them aren't Chelsea fans, probably hate
Right.
Chelsea, but it didn't matter. It was all about helping out the people that also give back to him. And uh, it's kind of ironic, because the London, Chelsea, they're known as the Chelsea pensioners. And I'm gonna save the story of the Chelsea pensioners for when Joe and I talk about the histories of our clubs. Um, but the story of the Chelsea pensioners is pretty interesting, if you want to get ahead in your reading, and look it up. Look up the story of the Chelsea pensioners, and um, it's pretty interesting.
No, absolutely. And you hit the nail on the head when you said the owners is different, because unfortunately in our sport, we're just selling it to the highest bidder. We're not selling to people who actually care about the sport. So, shouts out to Mark Cuban, but he's one of the rare ones that actually, I think Steve Ballmer cares as well. Miami owner, does a good job of letting the people who care about the game control it. I mean, it's a handful of them. It's not the whole league, but for the most part, they're being an owner in the NBA is more along the lines of looked at as like a trinket. It's looked at like a trophy. Like, look at what I own.
Mhm.
Look at what I have. And they don't give a fuck about the actual product.
Nope.
They care less about the game. And meanwhile, because the game is inelastic, so to speak, they're making dollar on dollar on dollar off of a shitty product.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just not gotten to this year in which I feel like every team shows up to do their job, and every team has some type of, professional competitiveness about them to where you can't just
Yep.
walk your way through a victory anymore,
Yep.
which is dope. And but I don't know, it might be too late for some people because some people who jumped off the bandwagon probably think, oh, this is just what it is,
Yeah.
which sucks. But this is why soccer for me is a little bit more refreshing because, as you know, I put a lot of lab hours into basketball. So after a while, it kind of feels like a job. Once I see the first 3 or 5 minutes of what's going on, I kind of like sometimes doze off because I know what the hell's about to happen. And 90% of the time, unfortunately, I'm right. But with soccer, I know shit about this. So I could just be a pure fan. I could literally just be completely naive and then start to learn slowly but surely the game, just like I had to learn it when I first started watching basketball. Like, what is the triangle? Who is this guy Jordan? Everybody keep talking about. Like, this is how I'm learning it, and I haven't felt that way since shit I was a kid. So, this whole soccer thing, this is just my promo to get other people involved in this. If you are so and so tired of, the sport that you so-called watch all the time, definitely give football a chance because you'll be surprised how entertaining and how just the energy, the fandom, the love, the passion that these countries play for, and they putting it all out on the line, why they do it. You'll be surprised how much you can relate to it despite them being across the pond.
Yep.
So
And I don't want to sound cliche because it is, but I can honestly say that in my going on almost 30 years of being a soccer player slash fan, I've never once looked at the game like a job. Like I've enjoyed every single moment of it. I've never gone into looking at reviewing game film and reviewing tactics and things like that. And I've never once gone into it thinking like, oh, this is boring. Like I don't want to do this. I don't enjoy it. And I know that that's certainly not the case, especially for like baseball and the other sports, even college football. Everybody knows
yeah,
I'm a diehard Ohio State fan. Like I
right.
I that's probably if it's not Chelsea, it's probably Ohio State, and that's where my loyalties. But even that to me feels almost like a chore at times, and I don't feel that with soccer.
And I think the $1 million question is it because of the fact that this game has been so monetized to the point where it's almost being forced upon us as far as trying to make it to where they're trying to market to so many people that it kind of took a step away from the purity of it.
Yeah,
Whereas in soccer, it's just pure get the ball in the back of the net and keep the other team from doing the same.
yeah, yeah. It's very very true, man. Well, shit, that was a hell of a little detour there, and I'm here
Yeah,
for it.
yeah.
So, I think that will probably wrap it up for us. MJ, you got any last parting words?
No, I just appreciate you guys for having me on. And like I said, thank you for introducing me to this beautiful game. I look forward to learning more and more about it. And, hopefully I can continue to have the same love and passion as I have for this game as I have for basketball and not get bored with, the knickknacks. But, it's going to be tough for me. I get bored at everything. So,
I hear you, man. Well, from at least from my perspective, and I know Joe feels the same. Thank you for coming on. It's definitely been it's been nice having the boys from '94 all come in and adopt clubs and take to this game, with the same passion that we have for it, and it's refreshing. It renews any vigor that you have. It's been a quote unquote breath of fresh air. So, honestly, thank you from the bottom of my heart that you're coming in here. Joe, what you got for the people, man?
I think you guys hit the nail on the head with everything at this point, man. Like I tell you guys when we talk off camera and everything that everything we do in here with the scene and getting you guys into soccer and everything like that, it gets me so excited when we're just talking about sports as a group of guys and everything like that. And I love the conversations we have. More the merrier on this particular show. This is supposed to be a spot where we just come in, talk soccer, talk some barbershop talk with the boys. So anybody else that's watching that wants to come on and chat with us, man, anytime we're here. We can
Yep,
do these anytime people are available. So
yep.
I
There's
love this sport so much.
oh, yeah.
And it's it's taken over my fandom. I used to be a Washington football team and Tar Heels basketball person pretty much exclusively, and City now trumps everything. So
Mm.
once you guys get into that, speaking from someone who was not a soccer fan at all, to where I am now, like you will get hooked into this, and it's becomes more than a game.
Yep.
No, like I said, I'm already here. I ain't wrote down the documentaries y'all told me to watch. I'm here.
You
So
don't need to because it's going to be up on YouTube here in a little bit. You can run the shit back.
hey,
So you'll see it right here. I'm going to put at the end of this clip all of the scenes tags for Twitter, Facebook group, Instagram, Twitch. It's all going to be up here for you. Make sure you give us a follow, give us a like, and also, Stoppage Time has its own Facebook group. We have our own Twitter. Come find us, man. We love to talk to y'all, and we love games. So we're always willing to learn. Even to this day, I don't know everything. I don't know everything about the game. I never will. But I love to be. I actually love to be wrong. I love to be humbled and learn something new because it keeps me going. So for blue versus blue, I'm Zach. That's Joe. That's MJ. Signing out.